Today, we're diving into one of Edgar Allan Poe's most chilling stories. But we're not just going to talk about the plague or the party. No, we're looking at the building itself. Because in The Masque of the Red Death, the Abbey's layout is way more than just a setting. It's practically a main character. And we're about to see how Poe uses architecture to build the perfect, inescapable trap. So this is the big gamble that Prince Prospero makes, right? He thinks he can just lock the doors and wall himself and his friends away from the plague that's tearing through the world outside. But what Poe is really asking is something much, much deeper. Can any building, no matter how tough, actually protect you from the one thing that gets us all in the end? Mortality. And that right there, that's the heart of our explainer. Prince Prospero, in his incredible arrogance, thought he was building a fortress to keep death out. But what he actually built was a machine, a giant ticking clock designed from the ground up to track the unavoidable march towards death. The very walls were counting down his final hours. Okay, so let's break down Poe's lethal design. We're going to follow the exact same path the partiers took, a one-way trip from east to west, from the sunrise of the party to its inevitable dark end. First up, let's look at Prince Prospero's grand plan. He's convinced he's made the perfect little paradise, totally sealed off from the plague. But the most critical detail here isn't the iron gates he welded shut, it's the layout of those 7 rooms, which he arranges in a very specific, unchangeable line. So the big idea here is what we're calling solar alignment. Poe intentionally maps the flow of the party to the sun's daily journey across the sky. So why would he do that? To show that just like the sun, life has a fixed, one-way path. You can't stop it, you can't escape it, and you definitely can't turn around and go back. Our journey, just like that of the guests, kicks off in the easternmost chamber. This is where the party starts, you know? It's full of life, full of color. This is the morning of their doomed celebration. And this is where Poe is just so clever, because he's tapping into symbolism that is universal. I mean, across so many cultures, the east is the direction of birth, of new beginnings. It's where the sun comes up. By putting that first blue room right there, he grounds his whole story in an undeniable law of nature. Every life has to start with the dawn. And at this point, the guests feel completely safe. That final, dreaded room is way over on the western end of the Abbey, totally out of sight. They are literally as far as they can possibly be from their own end, just enjoying the morning of their lives, with absolutely no idea that the clock has already started ticking. And that ticking clock? Well, it's the progression through the rooms. The partygoers, they think they're just mingling, floating from one colorful room to the next. But what's really happening is that Poe's architecture is forcing them into a ritualistic march toward their own end. So this one-way journey is everything. Every single step they take to the west, from the blue of dawn through all the other colors that represent the stages of life, is another hour of their lives ticking by. They have no clue, but they're following the sun's path across the sky, moving from the morning of their lives steadily toward the inevitable evening. And this just captures Poe's whole theme perfectly, doesn't it? The guests are trapped in a system that is so much bigger than them. Their movement isn't governed by their own choices, but by the same cosmic rules that pull the sun across the sky. There are no detours on this road. And of course, every path has to have a final destination. And now we've arrived at the westernmost room, the place where the sun and this party are doomed to end. So here you can really see the powerful contrast Poe creates. If the journey starts in the east with birth and light, it absolutely has to end in the west, which is the traditional direction of endings, of twilight, and of the sun's daily death. The 7th room, the final one, black, with those blood-red windows. The one room the partiers have been instinctively avoiding the entire night. And let me be clear, its location is not random. It is absolutely essential. For Poe's whole solar allegory to work, the story has to end in the west. It's the only place where the day can die. The geography of the Abbey is the very engine driving the story's theme. So as the clock strikes midnight, the allegorical sunset finally happens. The Red Death itself shows up, and guess what? It also follows the sun's path, moving through the rooms until it corners Prince Prospero in that final western chamber. And then everything just clicks into place in this perfectly terrible way. As soon as the last life is snuffed out in that western room, the flames and the tripods that lit the whole party, they die out too. It's a literal and a figurative sunset. The day is over. The party is over. Life is over. And so the ultimate message becomes devastatingly clear. Prince Prespero's walls, his locks, his arrogant fantasy of safety, it was all completely useless. He built a structure that, instead of defying nature, actually perfectly mirrored its most basic law. Everything that begins must have an end. All right, let's bring it all together. The real genius of Poe's story isn't just in the horror, it's in the architecture. That east to west layout isn't some passive backdrop, it's the actual mechanism of the plot. By tying the Abbey's layout to the movement of the sun, Poe makes mortality as certain and as inescapable as a sunset. The guests trying to avoid that last western room, that was as pointless as trying to stop the sun from setting. Their fate was literally built into the walls all around them.
And this quote, it just says it all. Every sunrise carries the inherent promise of a future sunset. The second that party started in the eastern room of birth, the western room of death was already there, just waiting. That is the grim, unchangeable law of the universe that Poe designed so brilliantly.
And that leaves us with one final thought. Poe used architecture to tell a story about time and mortality. It really makes you wonder, what stories are being told by the buildings we live in, the cities we walk through, the paths we follow every single day? What clocks are ticking all around us, hidden in plain sight?